Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our Tree of Knowledge virtual campaign for 2020. This campaign is in aid of commemorating Arbor Week for 2020. Due to the current pandemic, we are forced to do things a little bit different. So I've included a virtual platform for you guys just to get some insights from some amazing specialists, leaders, activists, and just people in the sector itself. And today, our very special guest is a consultant at GCS Water and Environmental Consultancy, and her name is Lehlogonolo Mashego. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Margot. This is our second interview, so hey.
Yeah, well, it's the Woman Month, so we're enjoying the woman empowerment part of it. So we're going to jump straight into the questions. As a young professional in the environmental sector, have you seen effective policies and implementations thereof towards environmental protection?
Okay, no, lovely question. And I think, in our space, addressing it and going back to that question is very important. In terms of the write-up side of things, the theory side of things, the research side of things, I do think that as a country, we are on track. I do, however, think that on the implementation side of things, we are strongly lacking.
Yeah.
And I mean, look, in terms, we have the resources, we have the research, we have the theory behind all of this. However, the environmental protection and sustainability are still underfunded aspects, in terms of our country. So in terms of the implementation side, because the finances are limited and restricted, I don't think we are doing as well in that department. But in terms of the preliminary information and the research side of things, I think we are on track.
Yeah. And in your opinion, why is it so important for us to commemorate environmental days of importance, whether it being at a youth level or society at large? Why is it so important?
Okay. So, look, Margot, as you know, environmental related topics are not on top of the agenda. People always navigate to those sections or environmentally related or water related aspects last. So on that note, I think it's very important that we celebrate, and commemorate the special environmental green days, just to make sure that those topics are brought to people's attention. People know about it, and we need to use different platforms and different tools to actually make sure that we appeal to to the greater population.
Definitely, and I couldn't agree more. I think we've said it over a period of time with our first virtual campaign, where we said, that education and awareness is such a fundamental tool. And the more we invest in that, the more we'll start to see society making those small changes and start actually treating environmental protection as critical as it really is. Because I think it's something that's just an afterthought.
Yes, definitely. I agree.
Yeah. And then do we as South Africa practice the concept of replenishment enough when it comes to deforestation of trees for human goods and services? And the reason for this question is we are celebrating Arbor Week. So yeah, what are your thoughts around the replenishment of our resources that we just, as society, we just keep taking all the time?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'll answer that in two phases. This is literally my first Arbor Week, where I'm actually actively taking part in it. And I mean, obviously, well, that's through the Miss Earth South Africa, me being part of the program. I've tried to join in last year, it didn't really work out, but I'm going in, I'm definitely going in this year, and do have a look at what I do on my Instagram pages and on my platform, and also do have a look at Kidina Lady. But look, in terms of feeding back into our environment and our spaces, I do think we have a long way to go. But I think because South Africa is still a developing country, the issue of feeding back into the environment and breathe and placing resources to breathe, to grow and contribute towards the environment is still a bit of an idea, and it's still a bit far-fetched because we have so many other underlying issues in our country, and it's so unfortunate, But I think with us not identifying the interrelation, I don't know what the word is, but the
just the
interrelation
integration of it.
Yes, of the social and economic state of the country, and the environmental, aspect. Without the environment, we don't have food. Food security is now also affected. Without the environment, water is affected. We can't give people proper access to water or sufficient resources or access to water. So I don't think, to answer your question, back to your question, no, not enough effort is being placed in terms of breathing life back into our environments, because as a country, we unfortunately have so many other underlying issues. But I do think that it's very critical as a country for us to regroup and actually identify the importance of looking at all aspects, including the environmental aspects, because you cannot look at anything, in my opinion, you cannot look at anything with by isolating the environment or environmental components from that. So yeah.
Definitely, and that's so well said. I think integration is just something, whether it comes to policies, whether it comes to decision making, whether it comes to implementation on the ground, the integration is such an important aspect of it, because like you said, you cannot treat it in isolation. You need to look at it as a collective. And it's so important that we start doing that. And then for someone that had to study science and as a young, beautiful woman working in the environmental sector now,
Thank you.
in your opinion, is environmental management and just the environmental aspect, is it something that is covered through our curriculum and just our school educational systems enough in terms of educating, once again, our future generation just about the importance of the environment and just how to continue maintaining and protecting it?
Mm-hmm. Okay, no, I love that question. But to answer it, the straightforward answer is no, because I feel like, look, the environment or environmental components are so diverse and vast for us to fully understand. That's why we have so many specialists, because there's water, there's there's land, and under all of those, there are so many other, components under that. But I think more needs to be done, and even from a primary school to secondary level, the very same way we have life orientation, I really do think that we need to have an environmental or sustainability core subject, because the environment serves everyone, right? So I mean, look, for me, I've went further I'm currently doing my master's in the subject, and I still feel like I'm not equipped to handle the subject, But look, we still have a long way, and I think we are making the right, we are seeing through the right steps to reach wherever it is that we need to get. But I think, environmental matters and subjects need to be taken to the core, and the value of it really needs to be understood, because without environmental education, knowledge, we cannot trigger environmental consciousness. So people will not take care of the environment or love the environment, because there's no value that they understand or see in it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I'd love how you sort of summarized that, because it was in our very first conversation for Plastic Free July where you actually mentioned the same thing, and you said that the beauty in doing what we do is the fact that we ourselves are constantly learning, we're constantly evolving.
Yes.
There's constantly
Yes.
something new. It is always a new alternative to go and research, to go and try, you know. There's always just something that is constantly not only growing the education and the awareness around the environment, but also us as those individuals that wants to be the voice that's working in the sector. We are constantly learning, and that's the amazing part.
Yes.
Again, as a beautiful young woman in the sector, looking back on your journey, what made you choose a career in science, and do you regret making that choice at all?
Okay. So look, and I honestly struggle with this question, where it all started, the choice, and why I made this choice. But back in 2008, I became a ranger. I was a Girl
Wow.
Guide ranger. So that triggered my love for the outdoors, which then further triggered love for the environment, you know, and actually protecting it. So I then took on geography. I was a star student in
Yes.
geography. Thank you very much. But then, look, to be honest with you, after matric, my first choice was to do geology. That didn't work out. Lehlogonolo Mashego did not clearly didn't put enough effort into a matric, and I didn't qualify for that. I then went into geography, but through that, I obviously worked harder because I didn't want to, you know, settle for a different field, like I did initially. But look, through doing my geography under the University of Johannesburg, I fell in love. My marks skyrocketed. Thank you very much. And yeah, I then fell in love with environmental science and realized that I want to be in and I want to make sure that my career lies in environmental awareness, protection, and in the sustainability field. So environmental science actually just made sense at that point. And I just sort of went with that. I fell in love with the subject. I fell in love with me practicing what I do, serving the communities that I continue to serve. And I take that seriously. Look here. And look, the receiving environments that I am placed in a position to be serving. So yeah, it's been that, and I'm falling in love with, you know, my with the journey. And as I go, obviously, as I learn, I continue to include more things into whatever it is that I'm doing, and feeding into myself as a aspiring sustainability activist. So yeah, that's what I call it now. I'm an aspiring sustainability activist. So yeah, so it's literally just it was triggered by my love for the outdoors. It was further fueled by the education that I underwent, and then basically practicing it. But again, just like sciences, I still feel like there are a lot of people in our industry that are required in our industry, because the sciences field is so vast, and particularly zooming into the environmental side of things, it is far great. So not enough, and I really do appreciate, you know, initiatives that drive the sciences, technology, and environmental related drives. But I think more females especially need to be in our industry. I'm so tired, Margot. Like, I'm so tired.
It's actually so too. And also, I think that engineering, science, the environment, these are things that were considered male predominant careers. So sort of when you were done, you know, when you gave those career counseling sessions at school and people do the checklist, what you're going to become one day, I think as females, just because of the oppression in some form of a way that's happened year after year, and it's just been a generational curse passed down to us as the younger generation, sort of always made us feel like but I don't belong, I don't fit. And I'm so glad that now more than ever, young women are just breaking those glass ceilings and saying, you know what, I want to be, I mean, my sister is a chemical engineer and she's now working in a civil engineering environment. And I'm in
Hey!
awe of her every day because, you know,
Yeah.
we continue breaking those glass ceilings. And I just love to see young women continue taking up those spaces. So what
Yes.
is just a message that you want to give to young women to pursue, not only pursue careers in the environmental sector, but just to take up those kinds of spaces in the world?
Okay. Look, for me, and this also draws back to what I am personally working on, and I think it's, for me, this is a continuous thing that we need to deal with as people. But I think the overall advice for me would be to be fearless, because if you are not fearless, you are not likely to do whatever it is that you wish to do or to fulfill. And look, fear is so complex. You know, the only way you are able to deal with it and overcome it is if you deal with whatever underlying issues come with that: insecurities, trust, communication, finances,
And accountability, self-accountability.
accountabilities. Yes. And for me, dealing with fear is something that you need to deal with from within. And if you cannot overcome it, you cannot deal with it, that sort of limits you in terms of reaching your goals, your success, and whatever commitments that you ought to fulfill, you know, and see through. So, plain English summary: be fearless.
Yes,
Be fearless.
that is such a powerful message. Mashego, thank you so much for making the time to join us today. The aim of this series is just to get some insight, share our thoughts and our visions when it comes to just environmental protection, activism,
Yeah.
and just young women taking up spaces. So for those of you, you can go and follow Mashego on Instagram. It is Mashego26. She's also currently a Miss Earth South Africa finalist who's competing. She's an environmental consultant. She's working in the field. So do follow her journey and just, she's doing some amazing work in her communities. And just, as she said earlier, she's this aspiring young sustainability activist, and you can follow some of the amazing work that she's doing. I myself am very inspired by this young lady. So, Mashego, thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you for being a part of this virtual campaign and just allowing me the opportunity to get some of your thoughts and have this conversation with you and be able to share it with, you know, society at large on social media afterwards. I think it's messages like this that can spark that inspiration to aspire to become. So that's something that I strongly believe in. So thank you so much.
No, thank you so much, Margot. Like, look, you know, I'm 110% behind you. The drives, campaigns, and programs that you run, may you continue to lead them, you know, lead,
Thank you.
take up space, being the queen that we are, the queen that you are, and basically birthed or born to actually be. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the other chats. And yeah, all the best, and thank you so much for having me,
Thank
Mark.
you. So guys, all these videos will be posted daily as from the 7th of September. They'll be posted at 12 noon every single day. So do stay tuned to the Visions of Change, as well as my personal Instagram account, which is margot_T_Adonis. And you'll find out some amazing news there. So thank you so much, guys. And we'll check in tomorrow with some amazing guests.
Thank you.